Hey guys, Zimmy here with the Digital Addiction channel, and I have decided I was going to make a tutorial for you guys that are switching to Elv UI. A lot of guys who have been watching my stream and whatnot have, sat there and asked me, hey Zimmy, how do you get your UI to look like that? How do I set up Elv? So I decided to quickly make this video to go through the processes of what I did to make my UI look the way it does. Now, I'm not going to go into exact settings, as in placements and everything, but this will definitely give you the right way to go when you decide to create your UI using Elv UI. And don't forget, guys, you can also always go to my add-on pack on wowinterface.com. It's called Zimmy's add-on pack. You can also just download it there and it should be an installation and good to go. But enough of this talking, let's get into what we all came here to watch. So, after you've downloaded ElvUI, you sign on to your first character. This is what the screen will look like when you log in. It completely looks different. It's going to be kind of a little bit overwhelming, but if you just go through these processes, it becomes very simple. So, you get this box right here, ElvUI installation. And basically it wants to have you do 7 steps to get you started. So, first one we're going to hit continue. Now the next one is CVARs. I'm not exactly sure what CVARs does, but either way, I hit setup, go CVARs set over here, gives you that nice little sound, and then you hit continue. Now this is to set up the chat. Basically what it's going to do is it's going to take your chat and break it down and put loot and things that you receive over here in this box, as well as your trade chat. I preferably like that because I like trade chat over here, so I kind of ignore it. So going to hit setup chat, and bam, there you go. Loot and trades over here, and then your general chat and log is here. You're going to hit continue. Next one is a theme setup. Now this is where it's basically just cosmetic. I'd use Classic Pixel. So going to click on Classic Pixel. It's going to give you the nice border and stuff around your bars. Hit continue. Now it's going to give you your resolution. I prefer high resolution because I like my things crisp, especially when I'm streaming. It comes over throughout the stream very well. So I'm going to hit high res. Now, if you don't have a good graphics card, you can always choose low res, but if you have a good graphics card, go with the high res. It looks a lot nicer and cleaner. Gonna hit continue. Now it's gonna ask you what kind of layout you want. Tank, healer, physical DPS, and caster DPS. Obviously, because I play a caster DPS, and I play a healer as an alt, I'm gonna immediately set mine up as a caster DPS. So I'm going to click caster DPS. You can obviously, pick which one you want. Going to hit the caster DPS. Bam, layout set. I'm going to hit continue. And basically this is just telling you that the installation is fixed. Hit the finish button. It's going to reload your UI now. And that is what the UI looks like. Obviously, you have... I'm going to turn these extra add-ons off real quick, just so we don't get any confusion. Gonna reload the UI real quick. There you go. That's what it looks like. So, now, the first thing most people like to do is they like to set up their bars, and they like to set up also their location of their portrait. I prefer the portrait not being down here, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna go into your chat, hit /EC. Hit enter, and now it's going to bring up your ElvUI settings. You cannot do this by going into your interface options. So type /EC, bam, here comes this. So the first thing you want to do is set up the layout. So what I like to do is you instantly go to toggle anchors, and this is going to unlock various elements of your UI. Basically your chat, your bars, your portrait, your minimap, everything. So toggle anchors, and you're going to immediately get this screen right here. Now this screen immediately sends anyone who's really not sure what they're doing, it immediately makes them scared. I've had a lot of people get to this point right here, and they're like, oh my god, this is confusing, I'm not doing this, and then instantly uninstall ElvUI. But, no worries, I'm here to explain what's going on. So, first, I'm going to set up my player frame and target frame. So, here's my player frame. I'm going to bring it up to here. And I like how it brings the whole entire screen in a grid, because then you can set everything up in a symmetrical way, which I really enjoy symmetrical UI. So next thing I want to do is I want to move my target frame. And I like my target frame personally right here, basically kind of so I'm always looking in this general direction anyways. So I like to keep my player frame and target frame here so I know if I'm taking damage, I'm losing mana, or how the boss is. Now, as you notice, when I drag the target frame up, it also moves the focus frame. So I don't like the focus frame up here, so I'm going to move the focus frame right down here. I personally like the focus frame right next to the target frame. Next setup is your bars. Okay, so I personally like my bars dead center of my screen. Since I obviously don't play classes with pets, I'm going to just move my pet frame over here. And target of target frame really doesn't matter where you put it, because I don't use target of target frame because I normally know where I'm attacking. So you got 1 bar, 2 bar. I'm going to move the 3rd bar here. I'll end up expanding these here in a minute. And so obviously this is going to look a little weird by the time while I'm setting it up. So now that I'm doing that, now I'm going to have to quickly lock the frames, and it sends me back to here. Obviously now it's all weird here, but no worries. So now you've got all these settings here. You've got action bars, bags, chat, class timers, data text, nameplates, reminders, skins, tooltips, unit frames, profiles. We're not going to go into that right now, just yet. So we're going to click on action bars. Alright, now this is basically your general action bars list. Enable, obviously that's going to enable the action bars. Keybind text, whether you want to display the keybind text or not. I personally like to display the keybind text, just in case, like when I'm leveling new classes and stuff, I do know what keybind I have my spells on. Max paging, I'm really not for sure what this does, and I haven't really bothered with it, so I just leave that unchecked. And then you also have keybind mode. If you've ever used Dominoes, keybind mode is pretty much the exact same thing. But what I'm really looking into is these bars here. So this is going to be bar 1. Alright, and then I want to go to bar 2. Obviously bar 2 is not enabled, so I want to click on enable bar 2. Now, as you see, this bar looks completely different from this bar. Basically, it's got a background here. All you do is click on backdrop, and there you go. Instantly gives you that nice, pretty box around it that I personally like. If you don't like that and you like your bars separated, you can just take the backdrop off. Now, here's also, actually I'll go into that in a minute. Now you've got bar 3. Now, as you notice, bar 3 only has 6 buttons on it. Now, I like to have 12 buttons on all of my bars, just so it's symmetrical. So, go down to here, and you have buttons per row. And then I'm basically just going to put that to 12, and that's how you got it. Now, whoops. So that gives you 12 buttons, but it's not currently... Moving on. Ah, there we go. Okay, so that's buttons per row. And then we want, here we go, buttons. That's what I was looking for. Now, this asks how many buttons you want on that will display per your row. This is how many buttons will actually be on the bars. So I'm going to drag that to 12, and it instantly gives me 12 buttons. So now I'm going to go to button 4, and this one is the one that was going up and down. And basically, I want to just bring that to 12 here, which is going to make it horizontal instead of vertical. And then button 5, pretty much do the same. Send that to 12, and put that to 12. And there you go. Now you can also mess with your pet bar, and it gives you how many buttons you want, etc., as well as your shapeshift bar and your cooldown text. Cooldown text is basically, if you've ever used OmniCC, it's the exact same thing. It'll give you a cooldown number on buttons that you use for cooldowns. So like say I hit Arcane Torrent, and now it gives me a number here over the button, 2 minutes, and that's how long the cooldown is. And you can change the colors and stuff to fit your needs. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go back up here and hit Toggle Anchor. Now that I have everything uniform, I can immediately go back, start putting things on top of each other. Now, as you can tell, I apparently only have 11 buttons on bar 3. So, simple fix, go to lock, go to bar 3, and maximize that. There you go. Now, I personally like to move my minimap as well. So I'm going to go over here. I want to keep my BNet frame there. And I'm going to move my minimap to here. Now I will end up scaling that here in a minute because I don't need a huge minimap. However, some people like a huge minimap. And I personally do not and don't need it. Now, the Aura's frame. This is basically going to give you what buffs you have. I personally like it here in the right hand corner, and I'm going to move it just half of a section over from the edge of the screen. Now your boss button is basically your Ultraxian button, your extra action button. I like to have mine right here because I have my cast bar just above it. So I'm going to have that here, and that is that. Now you can also move your arena frames and boss frames. Now this is basically your frames for when you go into arenas to see other players, and your boss frames on such bosses that have extra important adds like your Sage. For instance, the blobs. The blobs will end up appearing here. I'm going to move these over here, and that over here. There you go. Your BNet frame is basically just when your friends sign on your real ID, it's going to pop up, and that's where the actual message will show. Now here is where your raid frames are, your party frames, and your 10 and 25 raid frames, and 40-man. I personally like exactly where they're at, as you can tell by my stream, so I'm going to leave those here, but you can also move them wherever you want. Then you have your loot frame for when your loot frame is going to appear. I leave that by default, and then your main tank and main assist frames. I also leave that here in default because I actually do not have those on. So now that we've done that, we're going to lock the frame, and now you have almost a pretty much setup of how I have it. Target something real quick, target this guy, and bam. Now we're getting close to what my UI already looks like. So we're going to minimize that now that we're done with the action bars. Now we're going to go to so this is where I scale the minimap. Like I said, I like having a small minimap, so I'm going to go to minimap size, and I'm just going to drag the bar down and minimize it all the way. Now you can also make it transparent if you like, but since I have its position where it's at, I don't really need to. And then you also have all these other things that I really don't mess around with. And I'm going to just leave them the way they are for right now. Now we can go to chat. This is where you can basically make sure that it's, allowing URL links, short channel names. As you can tell, it's just going to show the number of the channel instead of the full name. Hyperlink, hover, sticky chat, etc. I leave that by default, so not going to mess with that. Now this is where you have class timers. I personally don't mess with these. You don't really need them. It works great by default, so we're not going to mess with that here. And now we get to data text. Now data text is an interesting thing that ElvUI provides, and basically it is text information that is going to tell you important things, really not within a RAID environment, but just in a general setting, such as your frames per second, your latency, what time it is, how much gold you have, your durability, which is over here, your spell power if that's what you want, your haste if that's what you want, and then also in the mini map you can have how many guild members are on, how many friends are online, and things like that. And then also your buffs here. Now personally, I do not care about guild and friends under my minimap because I'm just going to check it anyways. So I'm going to go here and basically turn it off. If I knew where to turn it off at. I know there's a setting, and I think it's in general setting. Hold on. Minimap panels. There you go. Click off minimap panels, and then it disappears. However, if you want it, you can actually go in there and show what you want. Go back to data text. Now, this is where, like I said, you can have your information. I personally leave the right chat information alone. I like, realm time and current time, how much gold I have, and obviously my frames per second and latency and stuff that I can instantly check when I'm in game and streaming. Now, left channel gives you information that's a little bit more important, that would say maybe in your character screen if you don't want to have to pop up your character screen all the time to look at it, and also your durability, which is very important during raiding and stuff to make sure that you're not broken. So I'm going to leave the spell power, heal power here because obviously this is a healer, but you can also have it down, call to arms, crit chance, DPS, durability, expertise, friends, gold, guild, all sorts of information. You can have it displayed over here in the left hand side of the box. Durability I'm going to leave alone, but once again it's going to be the same stuff. Now right, because I'm a holy paladin, I really don't care about haste too much. Now I can use mana regen, mastery, time, system, bags, avoidance, attack power, armor. Since I'm a holy pally, I'm probably going to use I personally like crit build holy pallies, which is a whole nother thing, so I'm going to leave it at crit chance. I'm going to put it at crit chance, and as you can tell, it switches to crit chance right here. Obviously, guys, this is not an 85 pally, just letting you guys know, so don't act like, oh my god, he's got low spell power. So anyways, now the next thing we get to is nameplates. Now nameplates is basically your nameplates that are going to show above people. I'm going to hit control, is it shift V? I don't have enemies here, so I can't really show you. Alright, either way, it's going to show you basically the little bar like Tidy Plates does above people's names. And you can have all sorts of information, level, healer icon, if it's a healer. Then you can also have colors and change those if you want. And it also gives you a threat glow if you have threat on a target. I personally leave it by default because it's really good just as default. I don't mess with reminders, so I'm not going to go into that. Now here's skins, and this is basically all of the skins that ElvUI comes with by default. Your PvP frames, your raid frames, everything like that, archaeology, barbershop, and stuff. And it also has Omen, which you can mess around with, and like Bigwigs, Recount, SCADA, DXE, DBM, Tiny DPS, CLC Ret, CLC Prot, Ace 3, stuff like that. I believe you can also download skins as well. I don't need to because basically everything that I use goes hand in hand with ElvUI. tooltip, I don't mess with this, so going on. Now, here comes another confusing one that some people are like, whoa, I don't know how to do this, or, you know, Zimmy, you've got really cool player frames, target frames, stuff like that. How do you get that to work? So we're going to go straight into the player frame. So we're going to click on player frame. First, we'll look at the general settings. Let's go back to this real quick. Now, obviously, we're going to have disable blizzard and stuff like that. That basically gets rid of those player frames. Now, you can also have specific colors, class health, which is basically going to turn your color of whatever class you are. I like to have that on. Custom health backdrop, you don't really need. So I'm going to leave it off. Class power, that will turn your power bar into a class color. Then you have your class backdrop, health by value, which is going to be this type of value, and class the names as well, whether it be a paladin or rogue and stuff like that. And it'll be the color of their class. This is also where you change your colors for everything. Your power colors, your health colors, everything of the sort. I'm going to leave this just the way it is for right now, since we're not going to go into this tutorial and mess around with it. So let's go into player frame. Now this is where it gets fun, and you can customize it and mess around with it all you want. I will just vaguely go over into this, but let me tell you guys that you can do a lot with Elv UI and customization. So we'll basically hit the hot spots on it, and then you can use the rest of the time with what I show you into learning it yourself. So it's going to give you nothing when you first click on it, except your health. So it gives you a drop-down box: health, power, alt power, name, portrait, buffs, debuffs, cast bar, and class bar. Now, let's just do with health. Now, I currently have it as current %. So make sure that is on, and then you can also rearrange it to wherever you want. I personally like mine on the left side and centered. Now, we're going to drop down, and we're going to go to power. Now, power is basically your mana or energy or stuff like that, your primary power. I like to keep mine text format as current, so it's going to tell me exactly how much mana I have currently, instead of, you know, current to max or current % and stuff like that. I like to know exactly how much mana I'm going to have. You can also turn this off if you want, which will just do that, but I like to keep mine on. Now here comes the fun part. I like to have mine as spaced. Now it's going to give you this right here, and you're going to be like, well, Timmy, that looks a little weird. But if you go into offset and actually move it, it'll go behind your portrait, and then you can start scaling it to where how much you like it. I personally like mine around 6 or 7. It gives you a nice second box, and then you can still see it at the bottom here. Obviously you have numbers as well. You can also change the height and stuff. I leave that by default. And then your position of your actual text. I like to have mine on the bottom right, so right there. Now we go to alt power. I don't mess with this, so I'm going to leave that the way it is, but you can obviously change it any way you want. But since I'm playing on a palette, it doesn't matter. Now we go to name. You can have your name here if you want, and your level and stuff like that, and keep it, you know, top left, bottom and stuff. Obviously I know my name, so I really don't need to. Now here comes another fun part: portrait. Portrait is basically going to show you a picture. When you click to enable it, it's going to show you a little box here, gives you a thing. But what makes my UI interesting is I go to overlay and I click on overlay, and that immediately makes it look the way mine does on my stream in my UI. So then you can also change the width and stuff if you want. That's basically going to change the box width if you don't have the overlay on. However, you can go to camera distance scale and actually zoom out or zoom in depending on how big you want your face in the overlay or on your character. Now, pretty much buffs I leave alone, and debuffs I leave alone. Now we go to cast bar. I actually don't have a cast bar, but let's see. It's going to give you a cast bar here. I don't like the cast bar there, so I'm going to basically, you can actually change this. We'll go here in a second. Hold on. Get out of that. Let's go to class bar. Class bar is basically your combo points and your holy power and stuff like that. I choose filled, gives you a nice cleaner look here, and then you can change the height and stuff, you know, depending on how big you want it to see. Now let's go back to cast bar, and I want to basically change it to where it's actually off on its own. So I'm gonna go here, hold on, I'm gonna bring in a spell that I would normally cast, and then I'm going to basically, I know there's a easier way to do this. Here we go, show hide. And then basically now you can change the offset and the Y setting. I like to have mine centered and down here at the bottom. Obviously make sure that you have it above the boss bar so it doesn't overlap. So, alright, that looks good. Now I'm going to hide it. Alright, now you can also change the width and height. I like to have mine just a little bit fatter than this. So I'm going to change it right about here. Click show hide, and there we go. I like to have mine a little bit bigger. Now you can also have the icon on if you want, or the icon off. It doesn't really matter. I prefer the icon off, just so it's just extra stuff that is not on my screen. Keep the latency bar on. It'll help big time. And we're going to go back into hide this. Now we go into target frames. This is where it gets extremely easy since you have basically already added the player frame and whatnot there. So now ElvUI gives you this great little setting, copy from. And basically I'm going to drop down and I am going to go to, I want it to copy from my player. And it immediately copies from my player. I'm going to move this over here. Click on something, and bam, there you go. It is basically the exact same. Obviously, since it doesn't have a class thing, it's going to be a little bit bigger looking. But that makes it really easy, and then you can go into these settings and customize it more if you want. Make it smaller if you like. And basically you can do that through your whole entire thing: focus frame, focus target frame, pet target frame, arena frames, etc, etc. I leave most of these by default: arena frames, boss frames. Now, like I told you earlier, I do not like assist frames, so I'm going to turn that off. That was that little box here. Party frames, obviously I'm going to keep it on. 10 frames, I'm going to keep it on because I raid 10 mans. I raid 25 mans as well. I don't like having as many frames when I'm in a 40-man, such like AV and stuff, so I'm actually going to turn that off. Tank frames, like I said earlier, I don't like having this on, and I'm going to click that off as well. I don't mess around with the filters, so I leave that alone. And basically, guys, that is how you set up ElvUI to look like mine. Pretty much set up. Go into add-ons here, and I'm going to turn on SCADA, reload UI to make sure it all fits, and bam, there you go. That is my UI, just the way it looks on my stream. Now, once you've actually fully changed all this, what's great is if you switch characters, type /EC, you can go in here, and you can actually go to profiles, and then you can just copy from all these. As you can see, I have a lot of profiles. Obviously, since I'm on my Pally, I want to copy from my actual Pally that I rate on, and bam, there you go. Now it switches to my exact profile that I have on my Pally. Then you can do a couple other things in here, like change your chat settings. You know, you can change the font and stuff. It's got a lot of cool fonts in here that you can mess around with. And then, you know, bags, if you want to change your bag column size and stuff like that. I leave it by default because it's pretty good. And in your general settings, you can actually change up. This is how I made the background and stuff. You can go into here and change the textures, primary textures. It's got a lot of textures in here, secondary textures. And then you can change the border colors and value colors, which basically value colors is these things. Backdrop colors and backdrop faded colors if you want to go really deep into it. And then that is pretty much it, and that is pretty much how to set up ElvUI and make it look like mine or customize it on your own. As always, guys, you can also go to wowinterface.com, go to DPS compilations, and search Zimmy's add-on pack, which I have all of my add-ons in there. It has both my add-ons for my mage and for my Pally. Specific ones like my Big Ignite. I have Skada in here with the way it's set up. You know, I have Voodoo, which I use for healing on my Pally, and I use Big Wigs as well, stuff like that. Basically, you download that, and you move on that add-on pack into your add-ons folder after removing your old add-ons. Follow the disclaimer. It's really simple, easy to go through. I've already had a lot of people do it. I think right now, as I'm making this video, I had around 400 downloads or something like that. So there's definitely a lot of people out there who are enjoying my add-on pack. And don't forget, guys, you can also watch me on stream, watch me on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/digitaladdiction, and you can watch me there live Monday through Friday, except Tuesdays, from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. +9 GMT time. Thank you guys for watching. Hope this helped. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment and I will do my best to answer it as fast as possible. Thank you guys, and I hope to see you in my stream on twitch.tv.